it's no secret I like tanks in this game. That's not even a secret at this point. Everyone knows I like tanks. And, you know, whether it be the Jumbo, whether it be the Tiger, which I'll just show up here, the Panther, even the Panther 4 and stuff like that, I like these tanks. Now, this video is just going to be me basically just saying why I, basically how I changed tank progression. Now, if you didn't see my last 2 videos, which I'll link in the description, I basically made a video, videos on this already, with saying like, look, this is how I would change up tank progression, this is how I change up rifle progression. It's going to be similar to that, it's going to be similar to the first video. I'm just going to show you how I, how I would do it, but not put like, go into too much detail. Now, it is a bit hard because the, obviously the, there wasn't really many, Allies tanks to choose from, but yeah, well, the Allies tank I could only do, light and medium tanks, not really go into heavies too much. But with the Axis, I could actually go into all, light, mediums, and heavies. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna start with the Allies as usual, and then work my way to Axis. Starting with the light tanks and then moving all the way onto the mediums, and then the Axis will go like light, medium, heavies. So starting off, we've got the Allied tanks. Now you can see here, there's a bit. It's basically a bit of disparity. As you can see here, there's a lot going in. So the whole premise of it. Let's start with the I mean, basically you can see here it goes down 5 trees. So you've got like the armoured car tree, the M5 Stuart tree, the support tree, the British tree, and the Locust and Chaffee tree. So the non-Stuart tree. For the M20, we'll start with the armoured cars. We'll go from left to right. So we started off with the Stuart, obviously, with the starting tank, the M3 Stuart, not the M5 Stuart, the M3. It'll probably be the M3A3 Stuart. So now think of it. We'll start with the M20 armoured car, which is probably going to be. I was actually debating if I should put the M20 as either the starting tank or the other one, but I think the M20 will probably be decent as like a support vehicle kind of a way. Now, here's another thing I should have mentioned is I would probably, if I would do this, I would rework tanks so that in their tree you can actually get in the gold tree. Like, I was talking about the gold tree earlier in the last video. I don't think if I covered it as much, but that will probably be used to get not only just, upgrades for, the upgrade pass for certain weapons and, the reduced cost of the upgrades, but also one that reduces their cost in this tree, in the trees. I don't think I mentioned that in the last video. That's what I was actually, something I was gonna do. But with this one, this one, instead it's basically a garage increase on certain level ups. So basically, you can have. So basically, the way it would work is, you'd have a garage, air quotes, of tanks. So, and it really depends. Like, for example, lighter tanks have like a larger garage, but they're medium tanks. So it gives like you can use some variety, and also the more tanks you have in your. So basically, let's say you obviously the tank spawn will be the exact same. So like, let's say you have one tank in the garage, it'll just be the default. But if you have 2 tanks, so let's say you have the Stuart and the Matilda, for example. I'm just going to use the Matilda as an example. Let's say you have that. If you have the if you use the Matilda and the squad, you can it'll basically say like you use the tank, you get killed, let's just say you get Fausted or something, or you run into a tiger. The squad will respawn. However, the Matilda will take another 2 respawns before it respawns, if you know what I mean. So basically, you'd have to use the Stuart if you want to use that, or you'd have to use another tank. And you know, that will go up, you know, the more tanks you have in your garage. So you can reliably, you know, you can use different tanks, and you can have like multiple tanks. However, you're not going to have like this mass. You know, you can't just be like, oh, spam out Matilda, spam out Valentine, spam out Valentine, spam out Valentine. Unless you, of course, you've got the tank. You know, you've only got that in the garage. So, and I think that would be probably more tactical because let's face it, stuff like the M8 Scott, you know, there's no reason to pick it over the Sherman because the Sherman just fits every role. Whereas the Scott's very, very tactical in some way. You only use it in like certain situations. So that's one of the things I was thinking with this. So we'll start with the history. So the M20 armored car, which is essentially it's an armored car. Very good maneuverability, but weak weapon. But the Greyhound will be the exact opposite. Great maneuverability, low armor, but has a really good weapon because it has the 75mm. Same with the Chaffee. Obviously, the M5 and the M5A1 Stuart. Not really many differences other than I think the Stuart has the A1 has a better gun. The Satan, which was the flamethrower Stuart. Obviously, flamethrower tanks are quite an interesting concept. I want to see them I want to see them more, but I don't know how they would be used in a way. Because I know there was like some flame versions of the T-34 which had implemented flamethrowers. There was, of course, the KV-8 as well, the Zippo, which I'll talk about later, the Flumpanzers and stuff like that. After that, it's the M8 Scott, which obviously has a lot of like, you know, I think the whole thing was if you buy anything at the bottom, you basically get all of the, you know, you get, other than the Chaffee, you basically get, like, you know, access to all of these. So let's say if you buy the M8 Greyhound, you basically get a bonus on the Scott. It'll make a lot more sense when I make the progression video when I do that. The Matilda one is obviously the Matilda British tank, obviously going down there's the British one here. Then they have the Valentine, the Locust, and the Chaffee here. Obviously, of course, this is a work in progress. There could be a lot more, but yeah. But those are what I've got at the moment. Anyways, let's move on to the Allies in Normandy, the medium tanks, which there's going to be a shitload of. Yeah, the mediums were a bit in the insane department. And you could see why. I mean, just look at this. There were so many different tanks that I could have... I thought, oh, I have to... You know, there's so many different tanks here. So... We've got the British tree. We've got the British tree. We've got the tank destroyer. We've got the more support stuff here. The, you know, duplex drive stuff and the, more like the support Shermans. Basically, it's a shitload of Shermans. So starting off with the regular M4 Sherman, nothing special. Then you get the M4A1 here. And, of course, the duplex drive Sherman. Along with the Zippo. Which, you know, I mean, there's not really much to say about these ones. The Zippo, obviously, is the flamethrower Sherman, so... Yep. Then, of course, with the M4, it branches. So you've got the A2, which has obviously the 75mm, the A3 with the 75mm, and then you get the Jumbo with the 75mm down at the bottom, and then you got this path which has the 76 before it ending with, of course, the classic Easy 8. You know, one of the most iconic Sherman variants of the war, the Easy 8. Everyone knows what the Easy 8 is. I don't even need to explain it. With the other Shermans here, you can see it has the duplex drive Sherman, so the amphibious one. that one, I think the only way you could probably say that is if there's like more river maps. So stuff like it would work well on stuff like well, most of the Moscow maps, like not Fortress, Monastery, for example, maybe even on Gorge in what's it, Tunisia. See, yeah, the reason I put this is because it's an M4A1 mostly, so it's not insanely powerful, but it has a really powerful trait with the whole, duplex drive, so you can basically go into, you can drive in water, basically. Which is something that most tanks don't have. Then you have the, down here you've got the 105s, and later the Bulldozer 105. Then you have the Rhino Sherman, which I thought, just give the Rhino Blades Sherman. The Priest here, and then eventually the Calliope, which I was debating if I wanted to put the Calliope on here, but yeah. I also want to point out that I'm pretty sure I made the plans for this way back before the Calliope was even announced, so yeah. After that, for the British tree, Crusader, going into the Cromwell, and then the Firefly. Obviously, I'll probably have to put like different variants of the Cromwell and stuff like that. Then you got the M10. Maybe I could put the M10 Achilles like somewhere around here. As the obviously the M10 is quite crap. Then you got the Hellcat, and then finally the Jackson at the bottom. Yeah, there really isn't much to talk about with the Allied mediums. I don't really have anything to talk about for the Allied heavies. Now, the only real heavy I can think of is the Churchill, so yeah, I didn't really put that in there. So but I might make one later. Like, I might, when I do the whole progression thing, the big, true progression, I might actually do the heavy Allies tanks with like the But the problem is that I just don't really know what other tanks to put, other than the obviously the Churchill and a few of the Churchill variants. But yeah, let's just move on to the Axis light tanks. For the Axis light tanks, you can see here there's a lot to talk about. So, I mean, just look at you. Starting off, we've got the Panzer II, just the regular Panzer II. And then we've got, it kind of goes like, you got the 35 and the 38T here, which obviously I think they were Czech tanks, which obviously the are pretty pretty big. Then you have the Puma, obviously, which is a an unlock here, the armored car, and you got different flak panzers, which all leads on to the Lux. Obviously, everyone knows what the Lux is. If you don't know what the Lux is, it's a version of the Panzer II with a lot more armour and a better cannon. So this is kind of more like an autocannon sort of route, in a way. It's got a pretty powerful autocannon. Could be quite interesting to use the Lux, to be honest. And then we've got the Mander tank destroyers here, which I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the Manders on here, and then of course the Vesp, which is kind of the German version of the Scott. So yeah, not really much to talk about with the Axis light tanks, to be honest. They're all just not really much to talk about. There was a lot more to talk about with the Allies, to be honest. I'm probably going to be making some improvements to both the Allies and the Axis, but yeah. Anyways, we'll just talk about the mediums. Yeah, here's the mediums. There's quite a lot of tanks here. Well, there's not really too many, but they've got like a load of different kind of thing. Like, so starting off, we've got the 3N, which is the obviously the support tank. And I was thinking maybe put some more Panzer III variants around here, make them a lot cheaper than the Panzer IV, which of course you've got the 4J and the 4H. and maybe even make a few more Panzer IV variants, like the F1 or something like that, to add alongside these. You then get the Mobilwagen and the Whirlwind, which are anti-tank. Well, not anti-tank, they're anti-air units. Which, I mean, I think it could be cool to see, the motorized AA. The self-propelled AA guns, which they could be quite interesting. Now, the reason why you might be like, but where's the Ostwind? The Ostwind never actually saw service on the Western Front. I mean, hell, the name is Ostwind, which means literally east wind. So it was literally all it saw was service on the Eastern Front. The Hetzer here, which everyone knows what the Hetzer is, and later the Panzer and the Jag Panzer IV. Stug, maybe a couple versions of the Stug around here, which is obviously a very well-known anti. Well, it's a Stug. What do you expect? Everyone knows what the Stug is. It's one of the most well-known assault guns, and anti-tank destroyers. The Gurel here, and the Hummel, and of course the Blumbar right at the bottom. The Blumbar. Everyone knows what the Blumbar is as well. It's Invert's favourite tool on Company of Heroes as well. So yeah, I had to include the Blumbar. It's a very good. I really the Blumbar obviously is a assault gun. It's very powerful. So I don't know how. Obviously, it will have to be balanced. But then again, they've got the IS-2 in this game, so I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the final part, which is the Axis heavy tanks. Now, there really wasn't much Axis heavy tanks, but I kind of had to include a lot of just Axis heavy tanks. Now, the bottom two, I kind of was a bit debating on if I should have the Königstiger and the Jagdtiger, but I think I just put them there, but they're debatable. Everything else probably should show up. Panther A, obviously, that's already in the tech tree. That's the starting heavy tank. But yeah, then we get the Panther G and the Jag Panther. So basically, I was trying to go that this route is the tank destroyer, and this route is the battle the tanks. Then you of course got the Tiger, the Elephant, and you might be like, but the Elephant never saw service. They actually did see service. I've actually read actual field reports of. It was actually quite a hilarious field report, which was around the. I think this was around Operation Cobra. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it was or it might be Operation Tortoise actually, but it was one of the Operation Sherwood or whatever it was, but it was one of the breakout operations in Normandy during Operation Overlord, and they actually came across a group of Ferdinand tank destroyers who were basically this is when they were upgraded to the Elephants, and the Ferdinand tank crews were so bored that they were just dismounted and was sunbathing, I think it was, or something ridiculous like that. It was hilarious, and I just remember reading that in a book, and I just started laughing. Yeah, it was. I think it was D-Day. Really good book. Recommend. But yeah, that's why I put the Elephant here. Obviously, 88mm fixed gun. Basically, going to be what the SU-86, SU-85 is, not 86. The SU-85 is in Berlin. Same with the Jag Panther. Jagdtiger, obviously, big gun. Put a hole through anything. Will probably be the counter to the Jackson, really. And then you have the Königstiger here. I wasn't too sure about the Jagdtiger and the Königstiger, so yeah, those two are debatable. Tiger and the Elephant, though, probably will show up. They're the more, they're the reasonable ones, because I actually know for a fact that the Tiger and the Elephant were actually in Normandy. So yeah. Anyways, that'll be about it really. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.